Picture this. Somewhere in your home right now, there's a drawer, a notebook, maybe a digital folder tucked away where you don't look anymore. And inside, your carefully crafted 5-year plans from years past. Plans you made with such excitement, such clarity, such hope. Plans that are now completely irrelevant. Let me ask you something. How many 5-year plans have you made that were completely outdated within 18 months? I've watched this happen over and over. I've seen executive teams spend 6 months creating beautiful strategic plans that didn't survive 6 weeks. There's this cruel irony. The longer the plan, the faster it becomes obsolete. And here's what happens in your heart. You start wondering, maybe I'm just bad at planning. Or worse, maybe successful people just got lucky and I'm chasing an illusion. The cycle is exhausting, isn't it? Plan, execute, life happens. Plan fails, feel like a failure. Make a new plan, repeat. But what if you're not the problem? What if there's something fundamentally flawed about how we've been taught to plan? What if the very thing that makes us feel productive, those detailed 5-year predictions, is actually setting us up to fail? Let me share what I've learned about why this happens and what actually works instead. Because there is a way forward. But I promise you, it looks nothing like what you've been doing. You know, most 5-year plans fail because they're built on 3 fatal assumptions. Let me walk you through them, and I think you'll recognize yourself in this. The first is what I call the stability illusion. We believe that the world in 5 years will be today's world plus our goals. We project current conditions forward and add our achievements to the picture. We're essentially planning as if time is linear and controllable. But reality? Technology disrupts industries overnight. Economic conditions shift. Personal circumstances transform. Your health changes. Relationships evolve. Opportunities emerge from absolutely nowhere. You're planning for a future that assumes the present is permanent. And that assumption is fatal. Here's what most people do. They confuse their desire for certainty with their ability to create it. We want to know the future, so we write detailed plans as if we do know it. The plan gives us psychological comfort, not actual capability. And I've come to understand this. A detailed 5-year plan is often just anxiety management disguised as strategy. The plan makes us feel in control. But feeling control isn't the same as having control. The second fatal assumption is the Goal-First Fallacy. We start with specific outcomes: title, income, house, market position. We reverse engineer the steps to get there, believing that executing the steps equals achieving the goals. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Goals without character development create hollow success. You achieve the title, but you hate who you became getting there. I'd met countless executives who climbed to the very top and found nothing there but emptiness. You can climb the ladder very efficiently, only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. Most 5-year plans focus 90% on what you'll achieve, the outcomes, and maybe 10% on who you'll become. But here's the truth. It should be inverted. Focus 90% on character development, 10% on specific achievements. Why? Because who you become determines what you can achieve sustainably. Think about the people you most admire. Do you admire their resume or their character? Your 5-year plan should be more about character cultivation than goal accumulation. The third assumption is the control delusion. We believe that if we plan it, we can control it. Detailed milestones create control. More specificity equals more certainty. That's the thinking. But the reality is this. You control your choices, not their outcomes. You control your character, not your circumstances. External results depend on factors far beyond your influence. The map is not the territory. Your 5-year plan is not reality. It's a representation, a prediction, a hope, but it's not what actually is. Imagine you're hiking with a beautiful, detailed map, but the territory has changed. There's a new river. The trail is washed out. There's a better path you couldn't see from your starting point. What do? Insist the territory should match your map, or adapt to the actual territory? Most people become so attached to their beautiful plan, the map, that they miss what's actually happening in the territory. And here's the irony. The more detailed your map, the more lost you become when the territory doesn't match. Now, let me tell you about my own 5-year plan disaster. Early in my career, I had what I thought was the perfect 5-year plan. Color-coded spreadsheets, quarterly milestones, specific income targets by year. I even had contingency plans for my contingency plans. I felt like I had finally figured out how to take control of my future. I was so proud of that plan. Then, in month 7, everything changed. An unexpected opportunity emerged that wasn't even on my radar, one that required me to step away from my carefully mapped path entirely. I remember sitting there, staring at my carefully crafted plan, thinking, this is worthless now. Part of me wanted to reject this change just to stay on schedule. I actually felt angry at reality for not cooperating with my plan. But I had a choice to make. I could force my circumstances to fit my plan, or I could step back and ask different questions. What are my core principles here? What kind of person do I want to become through this? Does this opportunity align with my deepest values, even if it doesn't match my timeline? I made the decision based on integrity, growth, and contribution, my principles, not based on whether it matched my 5-year prediction. I let go of my beautiful plan and trusted my principles instead. It felt like jumping without knowing where I'd land. Fast forward 5 years. I ended up in a place I couldn't have predicted. And here's the surprise. It was better than the original plan. I developed character strengths the original path wouldn't have built. Relationships, wisdom, opportunities that weren't anywhere in those spreadsheets. That ruined plan, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. My principles guided me to places my predictions never could have imagined. I learned something profound that day. The plan wasn't the point. Who I was becoming, that was the point. And here's the beautiful irony. When I stopped trying to control the outcome, I got a better outcome. So if detailed 5-year plans don't work, what does? I'm not suggesting you abandon planning. I'm suggesting you plan what actually matters. Plan your character, not just your calendar. Let me share what I call the 4 pillars of enduring direction. First, create a principle foundation instead of goal projections. Instead of starting with, what do I want to achieve? Start with, what principles will guide me? Identify 3 to 5 core principles: integrity, continuous growth, meaningful contribution, deep relationships, excellence. These are timeless. They don't change in 5 years or 50 years. Think about how sailors navigated for centuries. They didn't have detailed maps of every mile. They had the North Star. The North Star showed direction, not destination. Principles are your North Star. They show you direction through any circumstance. Ask yourself this: do you base your 5-year vision on predictions or on principles? Second, set character milestones instead of achievement timelines. Here's a revolutionary question. In 5 years, what kind of person do you want to be? Not what you'll have, not what title you'll hold. Who will you be? Because here's what I've learned through decades of observation. You can lose a job title. You can lose money. You can lose status. But you cannot lose who you've become. Most people plan like this: manager by year 2, director by year 4, VP by year 5, $150,000 salary by year 3. But what if you plan like this instead? Develop courage to have difficult conversations with grace. Cultivate wisdom to mentor emerging leaders. Build discipline to maintain health and relationships. Grow humility to keep learning regardless of position. Which set of milestones serves you in any circumstance? The most valuable thing from my career isn't any position I held. It's the character I developed through challenges I didn't predict. True success is becoming who you're meant to become. Third, build adaptive capacity instead of rigid checkpoints. Prepare, don't predict. Imagine 2 trees in a storm. One is rigid, beautiful, but brittle. When the storm comes, it breaks. The other has deep roots and flexible branches. It bends, it adapts, it survives, and grows stronger. Which tree are you building? Rigid 5-year plans are like brittle branches. They look impressive on paper, but they break under pressure. Principles are like deep roots. They keep you stable while allowing growth in any direction. Strong principles create adaptive capacity. Some of the best career moves I made were opportunities I would have rejected if I'd been rigidly following my 5-year plan. But my principles helped me recognize them as right, even though they weren't planned. Fourth, develop mission-centered vision instead of milestone-obsessed strategy. Your personal mission transcends any specific goal or timeline. Mission is your why you exist, what you're here to contribute. Goals are the temporary what. They change, they complete, they evolve. Let me ask you something profound. Imagine your funeral. What do you want people to say about you? Not she hit all her 5-year milestones, but she was a person of integrity. She developed others. She contributed meaningfully to the world. That funeral vision, that is your mission. Begin with the end in mind, but the end is your ultimate contribution, not your 5-year achievement checklist. Mission transcends goals. Here's what this looks like when you bring it all together. The old way. Predict the future. Plan detailed steps. Execute rigidly. Usually fail. Repeat. The new way. Clarify your principles. Build your character. Develop adaptive capacity. Navigate whatever comes. Build on principles, not predictions, because you cannot control what the next 5 years bring. But you absolutely can control who you'll be when those 5 years arrive. Now I want you to think about something. Think about those 5-year plans gathering dust in the drawer. Every single one that failed It was teaching you what you needed to learn. Those disruptions weren't failures. They were redirections. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not bad at planning. You've just been planning the wrong things. And here's what makes this hopeful. People with strong principles and clear direction navigate any change successfully. They often end up in better places than their original plans envisioned. The less rigidly you plan outcomes, the better your outcomes often become. So here's what I want you to do. Not someday, not next week, today, right after this conversation, take out that old 5-year plan, the one that didn't work out. Look at it. Really look at it. Then, on a fresh piece of paper, write these 4 headings. My core principles, the character I'm building, my life mission, how I'll know I'm on track. Under my core principles, write down 3 to 5 principles that will guide you in any situation. Integrity, growth, contribution, love, excellence. Whatever resonates as true for you, deep in your soul. Under the character I'm building, answer this question. 5 years from now, what kind of person do I want to be? Not what you'll have, who you'll be. What character traits, what wisdom, what virtues. Under my life mission, write 1 sentence about your ultimate contribution to the world. Why do you exist? What are you here to give? What difference will you make? Under how I'll know I'm on track, write this question you'll ask yourself every quarter. Am I living my principles? Am I becoming who I'm meant to become? Am I prepared to recognize opportunity when it emerges? That's it. That's your new compass. That's what replaces the 5-year plan. And here's my promise to you. If you build your next 5 years on this foundation, on principles instead of predictions, on character instead of timelines, on mission instead of milestones, you'll end up in a place far better than any detailed plan could have imagined. You have a choice right now. You can close this conversation and go make another detailed 5-year plan, destined to gather dust in 18 months. Or you can do something different. Build your life on principles. Become who you're meant to become. Trust that character is your destiny. What if your greatest success 5 years from now has nothing to do with the plan you make today, but everything to do with the person you're becoming right now? When you build your life on principles rather than predictions, you develop the strength to thrive in any future that emerges. And that's a 5-year outcome worth pursuing.